And thanks for watching. This is how to measure your company's ESG performance. I get this question a lot. My name is Lindsay Hampson. I'm the owner of This Rock. I'm also an ESG and sustainability consultant. I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I've helped over 30 businesses with ESG and sustainability. All right. So oftentimes we get the question, how do you measure ESG at your company? This could be because a company wants to invest in your business, but part of the terms are, how is ESG going? Another one might be that a big client of yours is asking you to get an ESG certification. So you need to measure your ESG performance. There's lots of reasons why this comes up, but let's talk about measurement. So let's do an introduction to ESG performance management. So the first is, obviously there's different themes to do with ESG that you'll need to look at. Now there are main ones, and I'll put them on the screen: energy, water, waste, and so on. Greenhouse gas emissions, procurement. Those matter to your impact on the environment. And you can measure your performance on, do you track it or not? Do you have policies in place or not? Do you have targets in place or not? Have you reached those targets? Same with social. Those could be wages, it could be terms, it could be diversity, equity, and inclusion, for example. It could be health and safety. And governance, it could be the makeup of your board, CEO compensation, whistleblower policies, ethics, and so on. So you would get scored based on the tool that you want to use, and you could manage your performance based on exactly what metrics you're tracking and what targets you're looking at. So, why is measuring ESG performance meaningful? Why does it matter? Well, oftentimes you're not going to get that investment, you're not going to keep that big customer if you don't do this. So, key metrics and indicators for assessing ESG performance. Let's go there. Key metrics, it's obvious. Usually, what I ask clients for almost right away is your bills. Send me your utility bills. Tell me how many locations, how many employees. Send me all of your policies to date. I want to know level set baselines. I want to figure out what you have in place today. So, again, those are across energy, water, waste, greenhouse gas emissions, procurement. Who are your top 10 suppliers, for example? Do you have any policies or code of conducts in place? And then for employees, do you have health and safety? Do you set targets like 0 accidents per year, for example? What about diversity, equity, and inclusion? Do you do harassment training? And then for governance, it's all about ethics. So compliance, whistleblower policy. Do you have a conflict of interest out there? Does your product or service impact negatively people or the planet, or positively? Let's try to prove that. So I'm looking at data, I'm looking at policies, and then bonus points if you already have set targets and are tracking those metrics. So sometimes clients will come to me and say we have to pass EcoVadis, for example, but other times they'll come to me and say we have an interested investor, but the terms include an ESG assessment and certification. So usually that's a perfect time to go back to the person asking you and say, hey, we're thinking of getting this certification, or we're going to have a consultant do this type of ESG assessment. Is that going to be okay for you? That's question one. There's lots of ones out there. You can, Google them. One that's very common is B Corp. Another one is EcoVadis. Another one I mentioned we already use is the Basic Sustainability Assessment Tool, or the BSAT. There's lots through the world. We could pick a different framework like the UN SDGs or the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. There's SASB, there's the CDP. As you can tell, it's alphabet soup. There are many. They often cover the same key ESG issues. So it's important to pick the correct tool or framework. We're not going to be making them up. We definitely can focus on certain parts of the assessment or tool, but we can't leave anything out, or it's not a true ESG assessment. In doing ESG for my clients for a couple of years now, I'm definitely good at figuring out how to measure my clients right away when I meet them. I can kind of tell right away if, they're going to already excel at the E or the S or the G or nothing or some pieces of it. But I definitely see effective ESG measurement when a company, number one, is completely transparent. They're able to say, we don't have that yet. We do have this. Send us what you're missing, and we look at the gaps, because then we know that everybody's being completely honest and transparent. I also like, as I mentioned, not to make up tools. We want to use things that are acceptable and accepted already. I think that's the most effective way and the most effective way to build trust with whoever's asking you for this ESG assessment. So, EcoVadis does a really good job, in my opinion, of making sure that everything's truthful. So, usually it actually takes about 9 weeks to get your results and score back from them on sustainability. And that's because an analyst is looking at everything you're uploading. It's looking at your policies, it's looking at your metrics from 2023, for example. If you have 5 office locations, it wants to see the breakdown of energy consumption on kilowatt hours. So, it gets super detailed, right? So, you can't just say, these were our carbon emissions for 2023 without really providing proof, for example. Yes, you can say you do harassment training, but you've got to prove it. You got to upload your training, for example. So those are case studies, in my opinion, of effective ESG measurement. Don't make up your own tool. Use something out there. Work with somebody like this rock that's done this before and can give you some advice, or even can help certify or verify the ESG work that you've already done in your company. So, in order to get your ESG score or metrics for whoever's asking, make sure you go through the steps I just mentioned. So, remember, figure out what are they asking you for, what tools should we use, what data should we look at, what metrics, how do we be completely transparent with this? And then once you're done and you can submit your score honestly and maybe with a certification or verification, then the next step is actually improving your score. So hopefully you met their initial requirements, but next year you should consider that they might elevate their minimum requirement standards. So if you said we weren't tracking greenhouse gas emissions yet this year, they said, okay, maybe next year they won't be so flexible. They'll want to see that you're reporting on that, for example. So, again, get your baselines, get your ESG assessment, get your score across whatever tool or standard you want to use, and then aim for improvement. All right, I hope this video was helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching. If you ever want to speak to me for 15 minutes, go to thisrockesg.com and you can book a 15-minute consultation. All right, I hope you're having a great week, and thanks so much again for watching. See you later.